All right, let's launch in. Our first topic today is the battle over the Demopolis Old School.
Yeah, boy, I tell you, that battle is raging. Last night was the city council meeting that included a public hearing on whether or not to zone the school, the old school on Main Street, to a zone that would allow for apartments to be built for development as such. And there was about 15, maybe 20, I'll have to count in my print story, it'll be an exact number, of the residents that live in the neighborhood near the school that stood up against rezoning and making apartments out of the school. Of course, you may remember that the old school on Main Street has been there since 1901. It is now used by the canebrake players for their theater, but there's talk about making it into efficiency apartments, and on the green space behind it, building some townhouses. The neighborhood is adamantly against this, and last night, everybody that stood up, except for two people, said they were against it. They feel that this would bring an element in their neighborhood that would cause property values to go down. One of the points they made was, the crime could potentially rise because some of these people that live in apartments like that and like apartments close by that area come and go. They don't come into the neighborhood to stay there permanently. Some of the apartments that are close by have been fairly crime-ridden areas, and they use that as an example. And the mayor actually opened the proceedings with a little bit of a talk because there's been a lot of backlash. He's caught a lot of backlash from people saying that this deal with the developer, Latham, is not transparent. It's not on the up and up. And he opened it up explaining that his position is to do what's best for Demopolis and do what's best for the city. And he saw that after all these years, the school was sitting there with nothing being done, and that this developer came in and decided that this might be a good way to make that school, use it as a historic landmark, but also use it as much needed housing in Demopolis, which is very short demand right now. And it's going to get worse when the School of Healthcare Science opens up. So the mayor explained his position that way, but the audience still said no, and you saw how packed it was. They didn't believe that was the case. They believed that there was some underhanded. There is right now advertised, where the School of Healthcare Science is going to be. There is advertised what they call the request for proposal, or school site, and they're asking other companies to come in and say, okay, well, here's what we could do to develop it. Unfortunately, some of the residents say the 2-week time period given to submit those proposals is not long enough, that it's, quote, tailor-made for the current developer, because these other companies aren't going to have time to come in and look at the building, decide what they can do, and submit a logical proposal. In the end, the council decided, although there's two of the council members that were adamantly against it, the council voted to table the rezoning issue and let some of these proposals come in and kind of talk amongst themselves and amongst the people to really get a better feel of what's going on. So nothing was done last night other than the people let their feelings be known. There were two that stood up in favor of the development, but the rest of them not in favor of it. So
we have heard that Latham Development, they have actually done projects like this in other communities. There's one near Anniston. So they are actually known to do many down here in Mobile and really smaller towns as well. So it's not a fly-by-night agency.
No, they're not a fly-by-night company by any means. And they, like you say, they're known for taking historic buildings and keeping their historic facade, but remodeling the interior for more modern uses. So, the proposal at the last meeting that Kirk Brooker of the Marengo County Historical Society was to turn it into and this is what the people in the neighborhood are promoting, turn it into a cultural arts center. And he mentioned a number of grants that are available. One of the ladies that stood up last night mentioned her husband, who is a professor at Auburn, is a grant writer and would be willing to write grants, and that is a special skill. And
Right.
this was talked about tremendously last night as well, that making it a cultural arts center, there are plenty of people who are willing to step up to the plate and do what needs to happen. So they're still weighing it out. What's going to be best for Demopolis as a whole, and what's going to be best for the neighborhood in the long run as well.
This was a rescheduled meeting as well that's been dragged on since August, September.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Here we are in October, and it's sort of tabled again. So it looks like we will still be talking about this coming up in the future.
At least 2 more weeks. So we'll be talking about it some more.